Hello everybody, and welcome back to Nerdy Miniatures. In today's video, watch as we paint the daughter of Alarielle the Everqueen, Drycha Hamadreth. Just like with my other Sylvaneth figures, we'll be painting them in a cherry blossom theme, so without further ado, let's get into the video. So to start, let's have a look at this figure. Said to be a truly ancient spirit, one who fought at the end of the world that was. The daughter of Alarielle, known as Drycha Hamadreth, has named herself the Regent of the Outcasts, leading them into battle while screaming her disordinate songs of hatred for all who are not Sylvaneth. Her lack of control and bloody-minded genocidal urges makes her a frightening foe, wavering between crushing depression and white-hot rage. She makes no distinction between Uruk and Stormcast, Gorkin or Duradin. She is an agent of violence who will fight on and on until her twisted dream of Sylvaneth domination is achieved. Definitely quite a foreboding figure. Now let's have a look at how I painted her. To start, I began by painting the wooden elements of the figure. For this, I used Dryad Bark. It took a long time to do this, as Drycha has a lot of elements that all needed covering. If you have an airbrush, I would strongly recommend using it at this stage, as this took forever. Now it was time to dry brush. For this I used Elysian Green and swept the colour across the figure, concentrating the colour on the central parts of the figure to add brightness to the centre. Trypophobia sufferers beware. On this figure there are various honeycombed shaped holes. To fill these I used the colour Doomfire Magenta and dripped the colour into each gap. This took a while, but the result was well worth it. Now to paint her body. For this, I took inspiration from my Spite Revenants and covered her entire body in Screamer Pink. This added a great pop of colour to the figure as well. The next step was to add the vibrant green to the figure. Using Moot Green, I applied the colour to her eyes, as well as the nodules across the figure, and I also applied this to cracks and swirls in between the bark. Now that Drycha's body was dry, it was time to begin dry brushing. For this, I used the colour Emperor's Children and swept it across the figure, focusing highly on the centre of the figure's chest to add highlights and dimension. Across the figure are various vines and leaves that wrap around the figure's frame. Using the colour Screamer Pink again, I dry brushed the colour over the vines, front and back, to make sure they were saturated with the colour. Hanging from Drycha are various trophies that she has collected from her fallen enemies. To cover these, I painted them using Retributor armour to make sure they stand out against the otherwise earthy toned figure. On her shoulder and down her arm are a swarm of bugs, ready to do Drycha's bidding. For this, I painted them in a base of Night Lord blue. I used a small brush and swept this across the front and back of the bugs to make sure they were fully covered. Whilst that dried down, I moved on to her claws. For this, I painted each claw using Doomfire Magenta, making sure each one was perfectly manicured. Now that the bugs were dry, I went over the top with Blue Horror, stippling it across the bugs to make subtle shades of lighter blue over the dark base. Next, I went over the top with Moot Green, dusting it across the edges to add a slightly brighter green to the wings. Now to move on to the base and adding the flowers. For the base, I used Stirland Mud to cover the entire thing, ready for me to add a collection of fake grass, pollen, flowers and stones later. Using UV resin, I applied the same pollen to the figure, strategically placing it to make sure it looked like the pollen was growing out of this mighty figure. And that is it, that is Drycha Hamadreth fully painted. I really enjoyed painting this figure, and I look forward to seeing how she will play out when it comes to battle. Down in the description below you will find 2 links. The first to Mr. Nerd's channel, so if you enjoy MMOs and action RPGs, then feel free to have a look at that. And if you enjoy fantasy lore about topics like Tolkien, Warhammer and Game of Thrones, then feel free to have a look at my other channel. Anyway, that'll be it from me today. Hope you have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are in the world. And as always, peace out.